that's not the jury's fault, they were impounded, but this was an unfair proceeding, period. And so he's back to where he was. And so I would like, the real question now should be, you know, even though this is over now and Jesse absolutely wants to move his life forward, I think people should start asking questions. How did this happen? Why should this even happen? What can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? And what were the facts that we never bothered to look at? Because everyone was distracted with public opinion. So I think at this point, Jesse wants to move on with his life. And he had already started doing that. I think this is a chapter, it's closed behind him. It's unfortunate what happened to him. He was railroaded. This was a travesty. And I think the truth eventually comes out. And that's what we're seeing here today.
Would you like to see an apology?
An apology? I'm sure Jesse would want an apology, but he's a realistic man, right? He knows he's not going to get it.
Hey everyone, it's Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, coming to you with breaking news involving Jussie Smollett. Y'all may remember him from Empire, really popular actor who ended up getting arrested for filing a false police report because of an incident that he claimed he was targeted because of his race and because of his status in the LGBTQ+ community. Well, the Chicago State's Attorney, Kim Foxx, had arranged for a plea agreement for him, completely normal, and he was supposed to just take the plea and do what he was supposed to do and move on. Well, a special prosecutor got involved and decided to try him despite the fact that he had agreed to this plea. He was then convicted. Well, the Illinois Court of Appeals came back and said, they had no business trying him again because of the fact that he already had agreed to a plea. This was a violation of his due process rights. So, there you go.
Just now, the Illinois Supreme Court on overturning actor Jussie Smollett's conviction.
Well, alrighty then. I'm seriously considering not showing up to court for that speeding ticket from last week. I mean, we live in a bizarre world. We really do. I don't know.
First off, your thought about this decision from the courts?
We were taken aback initially, not because of the Supreme Court's decision, but because Jussie never admitted guilt. We understand that he has due process rights and double jeopardy shouldn't and is not allowed in America. However, Jussie should have admitted guilt, and that's where we stand.
So the real injustice here was the sweetheart deal he was given by Kim Foxx's office at the beginning of all of this.
He did he did all these network interviews. He said how white MAGA people are out to kill him because he was gay and black. We're in the middle of the George Floyd riots. This was a blowtorch to blow up American society and further that cause and make him more famous. That's the big deal, isn't it?
Yes, it is a big deal. And the problem is, if it was a regular Schmo Joe, John Doe, or Ola Osundairo, he would not get that deal. Jussie got that deal because he has influence and power. So it shows that there are two different citizens in America, one with power and one without. And that's why he got that sweetheart deal.
Have you talked to him since, Ola? Did he ever pay you guys?
We have not spoken to him since. Yes, he did pay us at first. He still owes us $500, but I don't think we're ever going to see that.
Yeah, but it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't about the money. It was not about the money at all. It was more so us helping out a friend.
Do you know anyone that believes him? Do you know anyone that believes Jussie Smollett was telling the truth, Ola?
Not a single soul. I do see people online that still has his back, but no, in my immediate circle, nobody believes him.
Yeah, not even Pinocchio.
Abel, let me ask you something. When he told you about it, did you realize this was an absolute farce that would never come off, that no one would believe it?
Yes, I did believe that. However, he made it seem like this is what Hollywood does. He mentioned Kim Kardashian. During that time, she had an incident where she got robbed and kidnapped in France. And he said that was made up, that was fake. So that's what I was thinking, like, oh, this is what Hollywood does. My brother and I are professional actors, and we thought, oh, this is our introduction into Hollywood.
It's law and disorder in liberal cities. Illinois Supreme Court overturning the conviction of hate crime hoaxer Jussie Smollett, ruling that special prosecutor's decision to retry the Empire actor violated his rights after left-wing Cook County, Illinois DA Kim Foxx gave Smollett a sweetheart deal and dropped the charges. So Smollett gets away with staging an attack where he hired a pair of Nigerian brothers who shouted, "This is MAGA country," while putting a noose around his neck and pouring bleach on him. Here's a refresher of what went down.
So I saw him out the corner of my eye, and I was like, okay, that's him. Let's go. We gotta go get this Empire fat. Yeah, that's him. That's him. Is that him?
That's that Nick.
And that's when we started yelling the famous slurs he wanted us to yell. Hey,
Aren't you that Empire?
hey, Empire fat Nick. It's MAGA country.
Here's what Jussie's attorney had to say.
This was a vindictive persecution, not a prosecution. Let's not make any mistake about that. Jussie is back to where he was. He's presumed innocent. Even though this is over now and Jussie absolutely wants to move his life forward, I think people should start asking questions. How did this happen? Why should this even happen? What can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? And what were the facts that we never bothered to look at because everyone was distracted with public opinion?
And that's not the only liberal city injustice. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has been wasting time and money prosecuting a Good Samaritan like Daniel Penny, while dangerous criminals run wild through the city he oversees. Just this week alone, a tourist getting slashed in a random attack, homeless man with ice picks shoving an elderly victim, a career criminal got killed in an NYPD shootout, and a homeless maniac with 8 priors randomly stabbing 3 people to death. Okay, Judge Janine, please explain this court decision in Illinois.
Well, the court said that they made this decision based not on the merits of the case, not on the substance of the case, but the fact that Kim Foxx, there had been a grand jury indictment, and Kim Foxx did what we call a null pros, which means you don't admit to doing it or, committing the crime itself. And as part of that null pros, he was going to agree to a forfeiture of the $10,000 bail that was set. That then was considered a resolution of the case because a null pros is a plea. And so when the special prosecutor comes in and indicts, they say, no, you can't do that. You don't get 2 bites at the apple. It's double jeopardy. This is a situation where we're not taking a position on whether he lied and what he did and what the stress or the problems that he caused for the city and the police department. It's just a procedural mechanism that should not have occurred based upon the fact that it was null pros and there was a resolution where his bail was forfeited.
And do you agree legally with that decision?
Yeah, I do. Okay. I do. I mean, that's just a fair way to do it. But, he's not the most important person in the segment. I mean, when you hear about all these people running around free and able to be on the streets after they stab and kill people, and they randomly select a victim, whether it's a nurse or someone who's working in a bodega, and they're free to walk around. And I've been in the trial downtown at 100 Center Street watching the Danny Penny trial, where you've got a guy who's been indicted by Alvin Bragg. His case is being put ahead of everybody else's case. And today was an incredible day for the defense with a medical examiner who just did circles around the prosecution medical examiner, who apparently was making up some things that this expert medical examiner had never heard of, like a jugular choke. He said there's nothing in the literature about this. He said, I've never heard of it. But, I mean, this is what's happening. It's the politicization of the criminal justice system, where this guy, Danny Penny, who was a savior to everybody on that train, who thought they were going to die, when a guy ends up coming out and says, I'm going to kill somebody, I don't care if I go back to jail for life, everyone was petrified. And the last thing I'll say is that, we owe this guy a debt of gratitude for what he did. And the medical examiner, by the way, made it clear that he died of sickle cell, as well as being in a psychotic episode, as well as a toxicity from the cannabinoid, a K2, which was similar to a cocaine.
Harold Ford Jr.
Glad to be back with everybody. Thanks for having me. I cannot agree with the judge any more than I ever have. We spent a lot of time disagreeing, but I thought the way you characterized what happened in Illinois is exactly right. And I hope whatever people may think about the underlying facts that made the original resolution or the initial resolution of the case, maybe that should not have been what happened, but it is what happened. And legally, he was entitled to the decision that the Supreme Court rendered. We have a new police commissioner in the city, Jessica Tisch, who I wish nothing but the very best. She's had a big job over the many years developing and implementing all of the new technology and innovation at the police department. I wish her the best as she now has the day-to-day hand-to-hand combat job of dealing with crime in our city. I agree with you on Daniel Penny as well. What I've seen in the trial, I'm not in the courtroom like you are, but what I've read and all the public narratives I've been able to construct and bring together, I'm not seeing anything that suggests that he didn't act within his own right. Trial's not over yet. We will see. But I think your analysis around it, I've been watching you, has been excellent. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Harold.
Thank you for that.
Why don't you guys just kiss?
Stop it.
Jesse.
Let's put the legal stuff aside. You know, you see a guy like Jussie Smollett. Everybody knows what he did. Even the witnesses said he did what he did. And he doesn't really have to face the kind of justice that a lot of Republicans have to face with made-up charges and messed up prosecutions.
He was in jail for 6 days. He was supposed to do 50 days. What bothers me the most about this Jussie Smollett case, based on what you just said, is the sheer lack of humiliation and embarrassment on the part of this individual. He needs to come forward and say, look, I used up police resources. I made up a story. I was worried about my job. I can't put words in the mouth. Whatever he wants to say. When you watch the Ossendario brothers, I mean, it is a hilarious, embarrassing, but abuse of the use of law enforcement, of legal, wrapping up this in a legal way. We need to have shame sometimes in our lives and in this country. And when you do something this embarrassing and egregious, I don't know where he found the wherewithal to go on ABC and to say, tell this whole story. And he's got a little tear in his eye, and I left the rope around my neck because I forgot it was there. I mean, and then, Robin Roberts is like patting him on the knee. I'm so sorry. Kamala Harris comes out and says, you're the victim of a modern day lynching, and no one should be judged on the basis of their sexuality. Wake up. Wake up, everybody. I mean, this is a very embarrassing thing, and I would like to see a little embarrassment evident.
That's not happening.
Not here, anyway.
You've made this point before. Remember the time period this was happening. This country was like a tinderbox, Greg. If this thing had actually gone the way he wanted it to go, who knows what would have happened.
This is a bigger crime than what he was even. He was trying to foment a race war. And we talk about hate crimes. Well, a hate crime hoax is a hate crime. It was a hate crime against whites. And this case was important because it was providing an incentive against committing hoaxes. And now that evaporates. Now there are no disincentives for fomenting race wars, racial division, or hate crimes. It's just another. I can't remember how many hate crime hoaxes actually ended up with a punishment. They always say they seek psychiatric counseling. This guy, admitted basically the guilt by forfeiting bail. So he is guilty. But I want to talk about the crime. There's an unholy pattern. It's a three-step pattern that happens with crime, immigration, and even with trans radicalism. 1, something bad is allowed to happen. 2, nothing is done about it as it grows. 3, finally something is done, whether it is Daniel Penny or someone else. And then the media industrial complex cares. When you reach the third step, which is action, then they pay attention. Then they follow the law. Then they arrest Daniel Penny. They're fine with the first 2, but then it's a crisis when there's actually someone who steps in. Daniel Penny took the third step, which was action, a place where Alvin Bragg has never been to. He happily lives in the first 2, coddling criminals, releasing them to an unsuspecting public, including his own employees. One of his own prosecutors was assaulted by a sex maniac. As long as you enable these policies without experiencing the risk, you will always seek to punish the people who are willing to take action. And this pattern is in everything: immigration, in crime, in dealing with hate crime hoaxes. It's fine until there's action, and then they care.
Well, that was great action by the Nigerian brothers. It goes without saying. That acting
They have
there,
a future.
They have a future, and bravo to Fox Nation.
Fox and Friends Midnight, a new show.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.
Aren't you that Empire Nick? It's MAGA country.
Illinois Supreme Court overturning the conviction of hate crime hoaxer Jussie Smollett, ruling that special prosecutors' decision to retry the Empire actor violated his rights after left-wing Cook County, Illinois DA Kim Foxx gave Smollett a sweetheart deal and dropped the charges. So Smollett gets away with staging an attack where he hired a pair of Nigerian brothers who shouted, "This is MAGA country," while putting a noose around his neck and pouring bleach on him. Here's a refresher of what went down.
I saw him out the corner of my eye, and I was like, okay, that's him. Let's go. Gotta go get this Empire Yeah, that's him. That's him. Is that him? That's that Nick. And that's when we started yelling the famous slurs he wanted us to yell.
Ooh, this went all the way up to the Supreme Court of Illinois, and it went in favor of former Empire actor Jussie Smollett. But this probably isn't a win for him. Remember back when Donald Trump was in office? This one argued that he was a victim of a racial profiling, a hate crime. We're in MAGA country now. It turns out he was lying. These two brothers argued that they had met Jussie Smollett through Empire and got paid to stage a fake attack on him, with specific instructions on what to shout, what to do, when to do it. There was a trial. He was found guilty of 16 counts of disorderly conduct. He was sentenced to 150 days in jail, 6 of which he served before he was freed pending appeal. He also had 30 months of probation slapped against him and ordered to pay $130,000 in restitution. Well, pending appeal, this case worked its way up to a state appellate court, which upheld Smollett's conviction, declaring that no one promised Smollet he wouldn't face a fresh prosecution after accepting the original deal. And that is the crux of what the Supreme Court of Illinois heard and made their decision about. Much like her counterpart in Los Angeles, George Gascon, the Cook County State Attorney, Kim Foxx, has been big on social justice reform. As a result, because Jussie Smollett was a first-time and nonviolent offender, she offered him a sweet deal. She dropped all the charges against him and ordered him to community service, which he began working on until a grand jury restored charges after a special prosecutor took the case. In 2021, he was found guilty of 5 counts of disorderly conduct. And remember, this happened in Chicago because that's where Empire filmed. Prosecutors allege that Jussie Smollett staged this attack because he was unhappy with the response that he got from producers from Fox, the network, after he received hate mail. So now the Illinois Supreme Court has ruled that that special prosecutor should not have been allowed to intervene after the Cook County State's attorney initially dropped charges against him. He had forfeited the bond and got community service, as I mentioned. One of the justices of the Supreme Court of Illinois wrote the following. Justice Elizabeth Rockford says, "We are aware that this case has generated significant public interest and that many people were dissatisfied with the resolution of the original case and believe it to be unjust. Nevertheless, what would be more unjust than the resolution of any criminal case would be a holding from this court that the state was not bound to honor agreements upon which people have detrimentally relied. So, do you understand what this all means? Besides that, park that. This means that the ruling really had nothing to do with his guilt or innocence. He was already found guilty, so he's guilty. What the ruling has to do with was he was offered a deal, he took the deal, and then, oh no, you're going to get tried anyways. It's kind of like the whole concept of if the government sues you, charges you for A, B, and C, and you win that lawsuit, you can't be tried again for A, B, and C. So, even though he scored a victory in court, it's not much of a victory, because if he would have spent time back in prison, it wasn't much time that he had been sentenced to. And he's still guilty. And the two major reasons that this is an L are to get it to this point, from being found guilty in 2021 to now at the end of 2024, having the Illinois Supreme Court overrule and overturn the verdict, means conservatively, and any lawyer out there, fact check me, for the last 3 years, he's been working with high-priced lawyers. Conservatively, this must have cost him a minimum of $1 million cash, if not 1.5 or 2 million. And he did well for himself on Empire, but $1 million out of your bank account, that hurts. Personally, I would have rather have done the 3 months, 4 months, whatever it was, 150 days, and saved the $1 million or more, probably more. Plus, he's guilty, and I don't know if this will open many doors for him. It should, to be honest. You want to know why? That's a bit of a hot take. I would say the bar is Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is the bar. He is, and these are all facts, homophobic, racist, anti-Semitic, and a woman beater. He's been recorded saying homophobic, racist, and anti-Semitic things. There is evidence of that. If you don't remember, Google it. He also pled guilty to assaulting his ex. That's another fact you can verify. And despite all of that, Mel Gibson still has a successful career in Hollywood. But Mel Gibson is an A-lister, and there are different rules for A-listers. And sadly, Jussie Smollett is gay and black, and it's harder. It's harder. It is. And he's not an A-lister and never was. But it's not the end of the road. He's been working for decades. He was a child actor. I actually do think that he could still have a career in show business. He should just be creating his own projects, directing, writing, producing, and maybe eventually down the road, he'll get back to acting. But it's not all doomsday. Hollywood is very forgiving, even if the general public might want to permanently cancel somebody. I don't believe in permanent cancellation. I believe that people deserve second chances and third chances and fourth chances. How about you? Thoughts on this overturning? Thoughts on my thoughts? Thoughts in general? Let me know in the comments section.
Hard players, MAGA is having a meltdown. Justice Smollet done pulled the front into the motherfucking dump and played the courts for his benefit. Baby, the Supreme Court done threw out his conviction. He done got out scot-free. Y'all go ahead and grab your tea and have a seat. Let's get into it. So today, the Illinois Supreme Court overturned Justice Smollet's conviction on charges that he staged an attack against himself in Chicago in 2019 and then lied about it. As we all know, back in 2019, Justice Smollet claimed that 2 men assaulted him in an attack he described as racist and homophobic. The claim led to a search for the suspects and also international concern for Justice Smollet. Now, he was ultimately convicted of lying in 2021, and he was sentenced in 2022 to 150 days in the clink, but he served only 6 days before getting out on appeal. The actor was also given 30 months of probation in order to pay $130,000 in restitution. Now, Justice Smollet appealed his conviction last year, arguing that the Cook County Special Prosecutor should not have intervened after his charges were initially dropped. But the Illinois Appeals Court upheld the verdict, siding with Cook County. His lawyers then appealed that decision to a higher court, bringing it to the state Supreme Court. So today in their ruling, the justices said that they were aware that Jussie Smollett's case had generated significant public interest and that many people were dissatisfied with the resolution of the original case, calling it unjust. Nevertheless, what would be more unjust than the resolution of any one criminal case would be holding from this court that the state was not bound to honor agreements upon which people have detrimentally relied upon. So basically, the Supreme Court is saying, look, you had already negotiated agreement with Justice Smollett. It was signed, sealed, and delivered, and you decided to renege upon that agreement and go ahead and charge him anyway because people were dissatisfied. We can't have that in the court of law. It sounds similar to what happened with Bill Cosby. Remember, there was this agreement that was negotiated for Bill Cosby to not be charged, but then they came back and recharged him, and then he was found guilty, and then he went to the clink, and then they overturned the conviction based on that agreement. This sounds exactly like this. Well, listen, at the end of the day, honey, if Frumpy Dump can use the courts for his benefit, why can't Jussie? The Magamites and the Frumpy Dump tank stuffers are pissed to the highest level of festivity. I'm going to go ahead and keep it a stack with you. I love this form. Be pissed, baby. It's better to be pissed off than to be pissed on. All right, players, put your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Now, listen, I watched the trial of Justice Smollett. It's definitely some stinking in that water, but it's very important for me to note that Jussie has denied that he had anything to do with this and said that he was a victim of a hate crime. All right, players, put your thoughts in the comments. This is your girl, Double D Mother, reporting once again for the Black Accurate News.
Yo, really? Jussie Smollett's conviction got overturned? Wow. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. This is very interesting. Nobody in this country will get away with a hate crime like this, especially a hoax and lying to the police, which is a federal government, by the way, and take it all the way to federal court. I'm sorry, the Supreme Court, and get it overturned. Man, I don't know what to say. I don't know if this is a hoax. Did he pay somebody off, the judge, or what? Because this can't be real. Any Joe Small will be in jail and convicted, but he's off. And I guess still being a celebrity or whatever, well known, will still get you off sometimes. But I can't believe a hoax and a hate crime and the people who were involved in it testified against you and you still got off. Says a lot about this country now. And what, that happened 4 years ago? 5 years ago? More like 4 years ago. But listen, hey, what do I know? I'm just a talking head. Have a great day, YouTube.